This is the NoSoKoPo with Jay and Tim. I am Jason Verney, and he is Timothy Home. As you probably know, and as we always say, we usually record this live in UK's Koreatown itself. That's an area in and around New Malden. Yes, that's the largest Koreatown and Korean community in Europe. But I must add a quick statement from me, Jay, before passing you over to myself, on the fly and on the move somewhere else. Welcome to Series 2 of the NoSoKoPo, the Not So Korean podcast. Welcome to the NoSoKoPo, the Not So Korean podcast. I am Jason Verney. Timothy Home, you're here in the next episode. Now, we've probably got some explaining to do with regards to where we have been in the last few months. We put our last episode out late summer, mid to late summer, and in August we kind of parted ways temporarily because I went off to Korea. I'm still in Asia, and as I record this in my temporary sort of mock-up recording space, I'm in Thailand. I've spent a few months here, but I had 3 months in South Korea, which took me to kind of the middle of November. And so much was happening there. I had my film screening in a festival. I had some screenings of my own for that film. And myself and Timothy, we were speaking, and we even recorded some episodes, material for episodes. The original idea before I left the UK was that we would at some point while I'm in Korea, before I leave, before 2022, the end of 2022, we would get back on track. Now that sounded a good thing to do if we were like recording an episode and then whacking it straight out and doing that. But while I was in Korea, I interviewed 2 or 3 individuals. I covered events, film festival, something that myself and Tim have been discussing recently because he kind of covered the London Korean Film Festival. And basically recording a weekly podcast and putting it out and editing it, which is what I was doing. Obviously Tim was involved as well, especially with the social media parts of it. Even when I was doing that first year of this podcast with Tim, I was putting everything out, editing an audio version and also a video version, which takes a lot longer. But at the same time, designing a thumbnail, a picture, all this within a week. Now, if we did, as the series went on, we did get less and less. We were less and less weekly. We became sort of fortnightly and so on. And so that was not going to be possible while I was in Korea. And it was it would have been a difficult thing to keep on top. So instead, as I said, I interviewed a couple of people, covered some events, recorded. I've actually been recording episodes, hence having a recording space, because I've been recording episodes about places I've been in Korea, and also I've even been documenting in video form stuff that's been happening Korean related, 1 or 2 things anyway, elsewhere, for example in Thailand, and I've been to Laos in this time. So I have been really busy, and we've both been busy. Tim also recorded 1 or 2 interviews. Now these interviews that we speak of will be appearing in this second series. But as I sat down in this recording space where I am right now, and again, why have I got a recording space? Partly because I've also, in the last few months, started another podcast with let's say a very small collective regarding filmmaking, which is called the Micro Budget Filmmakers Podcast, and it's doing pretty well. I've interviewed 3 people. 2 of those interviews are currently online as I record this. There's a video version of 1 or 2 of those as well on my YouTube channel. And so, as I sat down to record this today, I was literally going to record just a few minutes to say, kind of like we did in series or season 1, we said, bear with us, we are coming back, or we're in between episodes. But as I sat down to record this, I thought, no, this is going to take up a whole episode to just cover what we've been up to, and something that's close to my heart, as anyone who knows me or perhaps have heard other episodes or seen videos on my channel, or actually seen video art of mine, will know that I'm very passionate about Korean causes. But number one perhaps has been Sewol Ferry, or Sewol. That is the ferry that sank in 2014. Lots of controversy, lots of issues around that and why it happened. It shouldn't have happened. And you may have seen on my postings, social media, elsewhere, if you've seen my film Reparation, if you've been fortunate or unfortunate enough to see that, then there's also tiny hint at the involvement that we've had in that film. Yes, it's a drama, but it touches on, let's say it touches on Sewol as a tragedy, but it also kind of parallels other tragedies with other tragedies. But also there's a tiny snippet or hint of our monthly memorials and demonstrations we've been holding since April 2014. Now, what I'm saying is, it seemed, as I sit here now recording this, it's the weekend of the 9th anniversary of the sinking of Sewol. Basically, was on the 16th of April 2014. So now we're 2023. I couldn't not record something relating to that, and I didn't want to just put out this a tiny episode of just a couple of minutes and then just say, oh, and by the way, sentiments, Sewol sentiments. I wanted to mention it as a more of a integral part of the episode. And I'll just get this bit out the way now, so to speak. 2 big things that happened to me when I was in Korea was that I revisited the Sewol Ferry itself, which is now stood upright, and this is in NoSoKoPo, or just away from NoSoKoPo in a harbour. If you go to my YouTube channel, I've just uploaded a video snippet, one of many that I got from Korea, from various places and causes. It gives the full address of where that is in the description of that video. I've also just posted something on my Instagram, which is Jomtien Verney. It's Jasian. It's a kind of play on the word Jason and Asian, Jomtien, and then Verney, Verney, Jomtien Verney. I've just posted a video or a reel relating to that, which also has the address of where the ferry is. I last visited that ferry before then in 2017, and so it was very surreal, very emotional, very different, well, quite different to the last visit. In October 22, I revisited it. But not only that, before I left Korea, I went to the classrooms in Ansan, so kind of, I suppose, the outskirts of Seoul, but kind of in Seoul, what people would call the Gyeonggi-do province of Seoul. I went there on the same day as my flight out of Korea. I literally should have done it sooner, but I just thought, I can't miss this time around. And I did, and it resulted in me almost missing my flight. But back to the episode and the more positive, upbeat items and things that have been happening to myself and Tim. As I mentioned, there was a screening of my film there was two screenings of my film as part of a film festival. but also there was 2 screenings which I put in Sewol essentially for friends, old and new. But also it was, as I say, myself and Tim have spoken a few times in the last few months. The reason I've kind of subtitled this or called this episode, August to April, because I left the UK in August and it's now April, and people might be wondering what's happened. There's a little picture on the thumbnail which shows Sewol, a tiny picture of a book that was in the Ansan classroom, which also has the Thai flag and Korean flag, so I thought that was sort of apt and relevant. There's also a picture of myself and Tim speaking recently while he's in Koreatown, and at that time I was actually just not long, I don't think I'd been long in Thailand. There's also a picture of the screening that I did in Sewol, one of them, and there's also pictures of me with, let's say, not just Korean friends, but at least one or 2 Korean friends or people related to Korea, people that are either film enthusiasts, or Justina, who we've mentioned and had on this podcast before, Justina Jang, who arranges festivals in New Malden, Kingston, and other places really, and Cindy, who deals with hanbok a bit like Justina does in a different way. And I really wanted to kind of say that we've not been sitting on our bums, not doing anything, because we wanted to continue this series. Start a new series. But the first series, bear in mind, we started it in COVID times. We had time. We weren't going to many places. Even then we wanted to do more and more, but it takes a lot to do an episode. It doesn't take that much to record it once you've got it and you've got all the audio set up and everything. But it's, for me as the editor and doing the artwork, or doing the design at least, it was, the weeks were taking their toll. It was good because it gave me a deadline, and that's going to happen in the second series. So there's going to be a deadline. Now, as I say, when I was sitting down to record this, today, I was going to just put out a few minutes just to say what's been going on, but then it started coming back to me how much there is to potentially mention. But not only that, people haven't been listening to this because, well, no, they have. I'll take that back. People have been listening to this. According to our stats, people have been listening to it on different platforms, Spotify, Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, YouTube. But when you do a second series, if you've left it a while, you've got to sort of test the water again. So I'm going to test that in a different ways. This will be an official episode, and a couple of weeks later, at the most, I would say, then you'll get kind of more regular. The episodes will come. We're probably going to change the date, the day of the week, from a Saturday to a Monday or Tuesday. It just suits us, and it fits sort of the podcasting way of things better. That's probably the best way to say it. For example, talking about Korean things that myself and Tim have been Tim has been involved with. I mean, Tim will elaborate on that in another episode. We've already recorded something where we speak about various things, and I can speak from my part, which I've been only a matter of, when was it? Perhaps 10 days ago, really not that long ago. I spoke for, let's say, a mini Asian film festival happening at a university or a campus, maybe at the Sejong Institute in part of Estonia. Someone I know approached me and asked me to speak about filmmaking, because I've made films that relate to Korea and video art. Also because I'm a Korean cineast. I love Korean cinema. That's what got me into Korea. And also because they were touching on Korean tragedies and the comfort women. And back again, full circle, maybe to Sewol Ferry. So that's as recent as within the last couple of weeks, things have been happening. I also, without blowing my own trumpet, so to speak, I did have some success with my film. It won some awards, editing and best trailer even, and one or two other things. I have been busy, and I say Tim has as well, but I will let him, when the next chance arises, I will let him speak about that. There's also, if you go to my YouTube channel, which is where primarily the video episodes were going before we finished the first series, you will see I've posted a lot of videos since the last episode, which was episode 25, which is when I was still in the UK, sort of riding on maybe the success of my film. There's an interview with me and other things, but I put out a video on there just 3 months ago myself, when I left New Malden. Myself and Tim went on a bike ride. We spoke about Korean things. I gave Tim a gift that was relating to Korea, but it also has relevance to other countries. And that video is on my YouTube channel. It's called it's a bonus video. It's called Back on the Bike, a Not So Korean podcast special. It's had quite a few people look at it already. But I will say, there was the audio that was recorded that day as a proper episode will be coming in an episode form. So in the next episode following this one, now that I'm classing this one as a real episode, that will be from that, myself and Tim speaking about that. And the next episode following that is probably going to be me in a certain part of Korea. Actually, I think it's going to be about my experience landing in Korea and getting to my hotel and all kinds of little things like that. But also on the YouTube channel, and there's another reason I'm mentioning the YouTube channel, which I'll come to in a second. You've got other Korean-related things. There was a Han River Gallery exhibition that I kind of got involved with, or at least I became friends with the people involved with it, and I did a little video for that, which is called Sewol Hidden Han River Gallery, because it's actually tucked away on the underneath of a bridge across the Han River, and I highly recommend you check that video out. There's also a video, a sort of let's say just one shot video from Jogyeser Temple, the Buddhist temple, one of them in Seoul. There's also a video from some shenanigans and some happenings in the Korean Cultural Centre in Thailand, Bangkok. There's sort of various things, hanbok and maybe K-pop stuff occurring. There's also, this is all Korean related so far that I'm mentioning. Just mention it because it might have gone unmissed, because for example, if you're listening to this on an audio platform and you don't subscribe to my YouTube channel, then there's lots of things that have been popping up on there that you won't have seen. There's a couple of Q&As I did, one at the film festival. There's also a Q&As that I recorded to do with the film Return to Seoul, and that was at Busan International Film Festival. There's also a couple of videos, again, me in an area of Busan, a particular area which isn't very well known, called Baesan. So there's kind of wordplay there on the video, Jaesan in Baesan. There's actually one or two videos, one relating to Korea, one relating to Thailand, one relating to Laos. But there's also a video of some music at Zandari Festa, which is the indie music festival that I've been attending for a few years in Seoul. There's another Q&A I was interviewed by some people. I think there's one more Korean related thing. Yes, the latest thing is a couple of days ago. Excuse the motorbike sound outside. As I say, I'm in Asia, in Thailand, relating to Sewol, which is footage taken from my visit to the ferry itself in October. I've got so much footage from that and other things. The other reason for mentioning the YouTube channel, because another thing I've been doing is refining, I suppose is maybe the best word, the channel for the Not So Korean podcast, something we didn't have before. So there's now a Not So Korean podcast YouTube channel. Now this is another thing I've been doing, uploading the same episodes or versions of that episode, the 25 or so, onto that new channel. Now that might sound an easiest thing to do, but it wasn't that easy, because I had to change the video a little bit. You have to make it longer or shorter, or change some sound, or both, and then re-upload it. So I had a lot of things to do for that channel. So that's now looking pretty good. I will say that because, as I mentioned before, we're now starting series 2 or season 2 after a little break. They're going to first go onto my channel, and then a few days or perhaps a week or so later, the episode will go onto that, because not a lot of people will be stumbling across that channel probably as of yet. People have, but in fact Tim also uploaded 1 or 2 videos onto that channel related to Korean events that were happening in the UK, so they're on that channel, and there will be other stuff in the future, hopefully. Alongside that, I've also been, let's say, refining again. That's probably the best way to describe it yet again. Refining a website which we didn't have before for the Not So Korean podcast. We had the Facebook page. We've got a Facebook group where we post stuff and people can discuss things. We've got Instagram account. Of course, we've even got a Twitter account. But we wanted a website. So there's a now NoSoKoreanPodcast.com. So all these little things have been going on in the background. Some of them started when I was in the UK, but didn't get a chance to actually get my teeth into doing them, or teeth into finishing them. That brings us to the sorry, you might have heard the whir of my laptop there, which is taking some. It's the disk drive or whatever, hard drive going on. I'm just looking at my laptop now. It's become a bit Koreanized itself. You might have seen it in a few episodes actually, because we did put it on when we did video episodes more, or when we were first doing them. You can see there's a Sewol sticker for the ferry. There's a little emblem for sort of me and the Korean colours, the blue and red, sort of the yin yang design, and also there's the Korean Not So Korean podcast business card stuck to it. So believe me, Korea has been with me this whole journey, and I will say that I've met Koreans or I've experienced a lot of Koreanness in Thailand. There's a lot of connection to it. There's also in Laos. I've met quite a few Koreans. Noticed the connection between Korea and Laos, how they kind of how Korea seemed to be helping Laos. They both had very sort of painful histories, you could say, Korea and Laos, and other countries, Cambodia, and there's also Koreans in Cambodia that are doing things and at least setting up businesses and perhaps helping the economy. But yeah, this trip has been a bit of a whirlwind trip for me, but I didn't want to let this podcast go. Hence, myself and Tim have been having, I wouldn't say regular, but we've been having every couple of months a conversation, probably at one point more often than that. And as I say, we would have liked to have done it in Korea, but instead of that, I was recording stuff relating to what my experiences in Korea, which I really, really, really wanted to put on either my existing podcast, which has been going for, half a decade, which is just relating to all kinds of a kind of manner of things: filmmaking, Korea, Asian film, cinema, filmmaking, music. So I really wanted to put it onto that, and also my YouTube channel, but I didn't want to because I wanted to make it as an kind of exclusive part of the Not So Korean podcast. That might change, but I wanted to save those little things, and of course the interviews, which we got at least two really interesting interviews from Korea, which I'm excited to share. Also got one with a guest that we've had before, and as I say, one or two that Timothy might be able to supply from some stuff that he's been involved with. And he continues to be involved with a few projects in the UK as well as his normal life. He's been involved with the Korean British Cultural Exchange, KBCE, which we were both kind of involved with, but obviously I'm not there. So yes, and I am really tempted to pop back to Korea. They've got coming up the Jeonju International Film Festival, but I don't know. I'm thinking, or whether I go back to the UK, whether I revisit Koreatown there, or whether I take a slightly different path here. But either way, I'll continue to do and record and put out episodes of the Not So Korean podcast. So I think I've covered pretty much everything, and as I say, my heart goes out to the victims of Sewol Ferry, and the families who are affected. If you don't know the details, there was more than 300 people that drowned because they were told to stay put. Some of them could have swam away, but they were told to stay there. But a lot of those were school children, students, about 250 of them. And there's also a handful of, well, dare I say, bodies that still haven't been retrieved and people accounted for. So, it's still devastating. Another thing I touched on when I was in Korea, I got involved for a little while with the Comfort Woman statues, a project a friend of mine was doing, a Japanese friend who I've been a friend with for a while. And, she was going around Korea. It was her first visit to Korea. She resides in the UK, but she's Japanese, and she's been interested in this cause for years. And she was trying to see as many of the Comfort Women statues as she could in the time that she had in Korea. And I kind of assisted a little bit, but also went along and documented some of it. I've been busy, and I went to the Jeju Navy base in Gangjong, the south of Jeju, south of South Korea, south of southern South Korea. So, I covered a lot of ground. Literally, it was my longest trip in Korea. I also did a temple stay, something I've never done before. Met my friend who is a Buddhist monk, and who I know from Koreatown in the UK when I first moved there. Oh, so much that I've got to talk about. And although it might seem a few months ago, it's still relevant. It's still important, at least to me is, and hopefully it is to you listeners. So I hope you stay tuned in, or subscribe to this podcast if you hadn't already. I hope you get the notifications. As I say, the video versions, which sometimes might be just audio, but there'll also be some which will be video, more detailed, that go onto my YouTube channel, which is Jason Verney. You can find me. And there's the Not So Korean podcast YouTube channel, which is relatively new, but still has a few people involved with it, I suppose, or interacting with it. And the Not So Korean podcast website, in addition to other things that already exist. So, with all that information, I think it's time to say that I'll see you, myself and Tim will greet you in some manner in the next episode. And that won't be too long from now. we hope you're well, and yeah. Oh, by the way, where I am in Thailand, it's Songkran, which is their Thai New Year, where everyone goes around splashing water. So this is nice to be recording this in my recording space and keeping dry, as fun as it is out there. I thought I'd mention that because although they have some similarities with the Lunar New Year, because a lot of these Asian countries are connected with regards to that, they have their own standalone one. And yeah, thinking of all you out there, and thanks for all those who interact with us either on Facebook and YouTube. Love the comments. So yeah, all the best, and talk to you soon. See ya. Again, welcome to Series 2 of the NoSoKoPo, the Not So Korean podcast.